Well, welcome back, y'all. Hopefully you can hear me. It's pretty windy. We've got a tropical storm sitting over here. By the time you watch this, it'll probably be long gone. And we're supposed to get some rain bands off of it today. We actually got a few yesterday. But right now the radar looks clear. It's beautiful. There's a good breeze from it. It doesn't feel that hot. So I'm gonna start knocking some mowing out. With us having over 50 acres here and 20 acres of it being pasture and grasses that we planted, I do a lot of mowing. It's by far my most common chore that I do around here. So I'm probably gonna jump on the zero turn first, start knocking out some of what we call our yard right here. Then, while I've got the flail hooked up the tractor, we're gonna go out to the dove food plot, mow down some real thick grass and millet strips out there. Then I may jump on this pasture, assuming I have time or don't get rained out from this storm. Thanks for watching. So I had something interesting happen, and I already talking with one of y'all about this. I just forgot to bring it up in the last video. Had my second problem ever with my John Deere, and it's been one of my biggest fears. It's an AC issue. Luckily, the compressor, the cool air, everything still works as it should. But the other day when I got in my tractor, as soon as I turned on my power on knob, I thought I smelled something. It kind of smelled electrical, like something burning. So, oh my goodness, I cut it back off, waited a minute, turn it back on. And ever since then, I've noticed on low and medium fan speeds, these vents blow just fine. This side does not blow at all. Now when I put it all the way on high, all the vents work. So only one of two things has happened that I can think of. One, there must be an electronic diverter somewhere for some reason. I don't know why, it's not just all plumbed in, and that diverter burned out. Other thing is, probably what's happened, this electronic circuit board back here, on the back side of all these knobs controls, probably burn up a trace, and apparently it powers up. There must be two blowers in here, which again makes no sense. I would think there'd be one blower to blow out of all the vents. Now sadly, to work on ACs and a lot of these tractors, you have to take the whole roof off, and it's got a gasket and seal that never seems to seal again. But if it happens to be just this control panel, it's got a couple screws where I can take it out, unplug it, and I might be able to get some access to other areas. So I've got to figure this out. We'll work on that on an upcoming video. First, I'll see if I can repair this, if it's the problem. I've soldered traces back before. I had the same thing happen in one of my old GMC trucks. I was able to fix it with a soldering iron. So we'll check that out. Otherwise, I got to figure out what the problem is. I'll price this out, and I may just get a brand new one of those. So it sucks, because I really have high hopes for this tractor. It's extremely powerful. It's been very reliable as far as just engine-wise, no leaks, just no issues. The only other issue I ever had was my fuel gauge quit working. I think something stuck in the flute, and it's been back working fine ever since. It finally worked itself loose one day. But I'll keep y'all updated on this. I always try to be very open and honest on the channel. Y'all know I love John Deere and I push them, but there's some gripes that I have about them. Still at the moment, don't regret my purchase at all, and hopefully this is a quick, easy fix. Well, as you can see, had a little problem in the field. Wound up shredding my belts, and I'll be honest with you, I go through a set of belts about once a year, which I don't consider all that bad because I work this mower very hard. If you watch the last several videos, I was mowing some stuff that was pretty much just as tall as me, very thick, and eventually these belts just stretch, wear out, and they'll burn. And today, mowing that thick grass and millet, that puts a lot of heavy strain on them. Now, all I was doing was just simply mowing grass around the edge of the field when these would finally decide to burn out, but they probably had stretched to the point that I might could have taken some adjustment out of them. But like I say, once a year, they tend to give out. I think that's pretty cheap for as much mowing as I put on this mower, so hard to complain. But while I have everything off, there's a couple hidden grease fittings in here. It's time to go ahead and grease up the new DeWalt greasable grease gun. I have been excited to use this, and I hate to admit this is my first time using it. I just have yet to take a day to sit down and go through and grease everything. We're probably going to do that on an upcoming video because I know some of y'all are interested in this. The reviews were excellent on it. I'm excited to finally own one of these. I think it's going to make greasing very enjoyable. Now, I wound up finding a killer deal on a full case of this John Deere severe duty grease, which is what I like to use in my tractor, and it's high temperature severe duty, so it should work in equipment like this just fine. I don't want to have to constantly be changing my grease out. Now, fingers crossed this primes up easy. I used to have a Lincoln pneumatic grease gun, very expensive, biggest hunk of junk ever. Could never get it to prime, would always lose prime. I hated that thing. Hopefully this is a lot better than that one. That's very convenient. I just tried to run it for a second, couldn't get no grease. It's got a little screw cap here to release the pressure off to let it prime itself. As soon as I unscrewed that, I can hear grease start shooting through on the inside. Let's see here. There it comes. Now this isn't the John Deere grease, this is something that it come filled with. I'm gonna run that out real quick. I can already tell you, it's the easiest to prime grease gun I've ever in my life had. It's already shooting the John Deere grease out just within a matter of a couple seconds. And I like that it's variable speed. Now one thing I can tell I'm gonna have to watch with this, it is so easy to grease. I can already tell I'm gonna tend to over grease with that, and I don't want to blow seals out because every pump, it's kind of like that one pump of doing it by hand, and it's so quick and easy. I can already tell I over grease one joint. So that's something I have to pay attention to in the future, but that was so easy. Now I'm kind of ready to run around and grease everything. was going to carry y'all back out to the food plot where I mowed, but it's been raining for the last couple of hours. It's just the same old repeat day after day after day. Probably the last 4 or 5 days, every afternoon, we get some nasty thunderstorms that blow in. It rains, wets everything, and we're kind of done for the day. Doesn't look like this rain's going to slack up anytime soon. This s'mores those bands off that tropical storm, and it's just kind of been the way it's working this year. Not complaining. I'd much rather have wet than dry. I know y'all are dealing with a lot of fires out west, and we deal with them here from time to time too. I don't want to deal with any of those at all. So I probably had 40 to 50 dove out in the food plot. When I come back, swap mowers, and went back out there with the Finish mower, I was just trying to fluff up some of that already cut stuff. Dove kept lightning there left and right, so I went ahead and got on out there. My plan was to go back down there this afternoon with the zoomable camera and show you some of these dove flying in and out. But when these storms came, I already watched quite a few dove leave. So the exciting thing is they're already coming to it. They're finding it. We've got 2 more weeks before opening season. By the time you watch this, that won't quite add up. And I think they'll find it. We should get enough in to have a decent shoot. You just never know till the day comes. Thank y'all so much for watching.